Welcome to The Breakdown with INFB. We're your hosts, Garrett Kelly
and Heidi Gant.
October is National Disability Employment Awareness Month, and according to the U.S. Department of Agriculture, about 19% of U.S. farmers and 9% of U.S. farm workers had a disability at some point between 2008 and 2016.
Today, we're talking with Paul Jones, an education and resource specialist working on the AgrAbility project at Purdue University, to learn more about the resources available to help farmers with disabilities. So welcome, Paul.
Thanks for having me, and thanks for addressing this topic today.
Sure.
Yes, welcome, Paul. And can you start just a little bit, tell us what you do at Purdue and how'd you get involved in the AgrAbility project?
I began with the Purdue Farm Safety and Health Program back in 1998. So I've been part of that program for about 26 years. Started on the prevention side, working more with groups like the Amish, but pretty quickly transitioned to working with AgrAbility, which focuses on trying to mitigate issues of disability. I have two main roles with AgrAbility at Purdue. On the Indiana AgrAbility project, I work mostly with resource development, but we also have a grant for the National AgrAbility project. And with that, I'm the manager of that program. We serve Indiana farmers with the Indiana AgrAbility project, but we also support the other state projects around the country through the National AgrAbility project. So I have both an Indiana focus, and I also work with programs around the country that also do things similar to what we do here in Indiana.
So what is that? What do you do, and kind of when did this whole project start, either from, the Indiana level to the national level? How long has AgrAbility been around?
That's a good question, and it's a little complex because AgrAbility at the federal level began in 1990. That was when it was first authorized through the Farm Bill, and then appropriations came in 1991, so that's when services began. But at Purdue, our program started in 1979, and it was basically in response to a single call from a farmer that had incurred a spinal cord injury and simply wanted to be able to get back up into his tractor and continue farming. At that time, there wasn't really a program at Purdue or in very many places around the country that dealt with disability in agriculture. So they gave the call to our farm safety specialist, Dr. Bill Field, who is still the extension safety specialist, and he worked with the farmer and some graduate students and some other organizations to help get that farmer back into the field. The program kind of took off from there by word of mouth and some other promotional activities. But during the 80s, the program was supported just through a variety of different sources, private donations, some grants from Deere and Company, some other organizations. But the program eventually evolved into a model that could be used for the National AgrAbility program. So 1990 was also the year that the ADA, the Americans with Disabilities Act, was passed. So there was kind of a momentum, I think, at that time to focus on disability issues. And we're glad that Congress decided to include people in agriculture into initiatives that helped people with disabilities.
Interesting. So I know being a farmer is a very labor-intensive profession. So I imagine it would be extremely hard to do if you have any type of real physical disability, not allowing you to operate at 100%. We know a lot of farmers, and I think, a lot of them would struggle with that. So can you talk about some of the people that your program has helped in the past with this project? I know Lori Hain, who's a Farm Bureau member, you had sent me kind of her story and what you've done for her. But can you talk about some of those success stories?
Certainly, there have been many of them. Lori is definitely a great example. And we did a recent video about her. She was injured in, I believe, 2018 during the second day of harvest. She's up in Marshall County. Was out in the field helping with the harvest and got entangled in a combine and lost her entire left leg and almost all of her left arm. So we did initially reach out to Farm Bureau in Marshall County to make them aware and also to pass on information to Lori when she was ready to deal with the rehabilitation process. Let her know about our program. Eventually, we did a farm assessment, and we recommended to the state vocational rehabilitation system that Lori be provided with a lift to get her up into her tractor and a utility vehicle to help her get around, because obviously mobility, on uneven ground and a farmstead can be definitely challenging, especially for somebody with a mobility impairment. So vocational rehabilitation did step up and provide that, and she's able to continue to work with the harvest and do lots of things around the farm. A lot of people think that AgrAbility just deals with farm accidents or injuries, and we definitely do. I mean, Lori's a case. There's another gentleman near where I live that lost both legs in a combine also. But a lot of people we deal with have other impairments that don't necessarily come from a farm accident. The average age of farmers is between 57 and 58. So that's just the average. There's obviously a lot of people older than that in their 80s and even 90s. So issues of vision and hearing, mobility, arthritis is probably one of the biggest issues that we deal with. As you know, in agriculture, a tractor step is not, down near the ground, or it would be a problem when you're out in the field. So they keep those steps high. And if you've got knee problems or hip problems or whatever, just getting into the tractor or combine can be a real challenge. There's repetitive motion issues. So things related to aging are definitely issues we deal with. But we essentially try to address the whole spectrum of what could be considered a disability or an impairment. For example, there was a fruit and vegetable producer down in Southeast Indiana who had a heart attack. That made it difficult or dangerous for him to be out in the heat. He also had difficulty with stamina. So getting him a utility vehicle, especially one with an enclosed cab that had air conditioning and heat, so he could be out in the cold and in the heat, was really beneficial to him. We've had other farmers that have been injured in car collisions, and that often can result in spinal cord injuries, which was the case with these particular gentlemen. One of them is in Huntington County, and because of those lifts and because of things like heavy-duty tracked wheelchairs, he's able to continue to farm about 3,400 acres. Another gentleman in Logansport area is in a similar situation where he's been able to continue on because of that type of assistive technology. I think of a gentleman named Ed Bell, who's over in Hagerstown. He had to actually transition out of what he was doing because of his injuries. He had a high-level spinal cord injury. He had raised hogs, but because of that, it wasn't really feasible for him to continue on. So he's got a strawberry business now, raises some other produce, and uses a U-pick method, which definitely cuts down on his need to go out and harvest. He does have some helpers that help him to plant, but he's been able to kind of pivot and make adjustments so that he can continue to be successful. And one thing about Ed and some of the other people we work with is they not only succeed in agriculture, but they've moved on. Ed's a national speaker. He gives lectures at Purdue. He's been a real encouragement to other people. So we're always glad to see that kind of giving spirit and ability to continue, and not only continue being successful in agriculture, but to be successful in other areas of life.
Perfect. I think that's nice. You said success stories, and that's certainly what they are, whether it's Lori or Ed, and it must be great to be a part of that. How many people does the program touch, a year or maybe since inception, and what does that mean for you to be part of that story?
Well, yeah, that's a little difficult to estimate exact numbers because we have kind of various levels of services. In terms of the people we work with intensively and individually, that can range from maybe 40 to 80 per year. That's where we go out and actually, do the farm visits and work with agencies like state vocational rehabilitation to provide them with equipment that they need. One of the things about our grant from USDA is that we're not able to directly give money or equipment to the people we work with. So state vocational rehabilitation is in every state, and their job is to help people with disabilities either gain or maintain employment. And they are able to provide that equipment. So, for example, over just the period from 2013 to 2023, I was provided some statistics from our rural rehabilitation specialist. So during that 11-year period, we were able to recommend almost $4.5 million in products and modifications to the people that we work with. But as I say, not all of our work is that intensive on farm type of services. We, for example, our AgrAbility.org website receives, I think, about 9 million hits per year, not only from Indiana, but from across the country and actually around the world. We've had people from other countries become interested in this, kind of AgrAbility concept. There's a group in Uganda that started an organization called AgrAbility for Africa. There's groups in Europe and India and other places around the world that are involved in accessing our resources. So, and in addition to things like that, we do farm shows and other events where we're out talking to the public, distributing resources. And so, there's kind of a wide range of services we provide, and therefore kind of a wide range of the number of people that we actually interact with and provide services at one level or another.
That's great to hear. So if there is a listener out there who has been injured or has something keeping them from being able to function at 100%, what's their first step in figuring that out? Do they reach out to you?
Certainly, that's one thing they can do. They can reach out to us directly. We've got an 800 number, which is 800-825-4264. If people want to talk on the phone, that's one option. They can email us. We've got an address, agrability@agrability.org. Or I think the first recommendation I would give would be to go to the agrability.org website. There's a wealth of resources there. One of the main ones that we find people accessing is called the Toolbox Assistive Technology Database. Right now, there's about 1,900 different products in there, and there are approximately 16 different categories of products. So if you go to the Toolbox, you can look at things like livestock production, or tractors, or trucks, or vegetable production. And within that, there are subcategories that will take you to different devices that could be helpful. So one thing you could do is browse through that. But if you know what you're doing, you know what you want to continue doing, either calling or emailing. There's also a contact form on agrability.org that you can access and just send us a notification that way. We've got a rural rehabilitation specialist that can contact you, make arrangements to do a farm visit or give advice over the phone. So I think there's multiple options, and I'd encourage anybody to reach out.
So adding on to that Toolbox Assistive Technology Database. So if someone looks at that and finds something that, oh, that's exactly what I need. That's what I need to help me. Do they maybe you've already explained this, but do they just purchase that directly through you, or you would have to go out to their farm to kind of assess their situation and then make a referral for them to purchase that?
Sure. We don't sell things through the toolbox itself. So we provide, videos, pictures, descriptions, and also contact information for the suppliers. So people could go, directly from the toolbox to the supplier and purchase it themselves if they wanted to do that. In some cases, that's fine because it's, a low cost device, wouldn't be a problem. But when you get to things like a lift, to get somebody up into a tractor or some type of utility vehicle or some of the other devices on there, they're probably going to need assistance, and that's when probably would want to contact us, and we would let you know of the options for doing that. In some cases, the manufacturers might have methods to help with funding or financing, but again, a lot of cases are going to be where you're going to need to get in contact with the state vocational rehabilitation system. And we've got some great contacts there in Indiana and in other states. And we could, help you through that process. We've got a retired vocational rehabilitation counselor who's a consultant for us that can help with that process. So that would be my suggestion in terms of actually accessing that equipment. But I've personally bought 10 to 15 things out of the toolbox just because they're handy tools, and not, super expensive. So
That's great. Let's say, Paul, somebody's not directly impacted by a disability, but they still have that heart to help or get involved. Are there ways that they can, help your organization out or be involved with the work that you do?
That's a good question. We've, done some volunteer activities in the past. We're funded by grants and gifts, so we can definitely accept any gifts that might be available. I think spreading the word is probably one of the best things that people can do. If you would like to, have some brochures available for people in your community, we can definitely provide those. Spread the word. Word of mouth is one of the ways that we find that we're getting people referred to us. And again, accessing agrability.org and just making yourself familiar with what we can do and the resources that are available there. We work a lot with county extension offices and Farm Bureau offices. We do have an advisory team also that meets periodically throughout the year. Currently, we've got 2, I think, Farm Bureau members that are part of that. If people are really interested and want to be involved, again, contact us and we can let you know when we're going to be meeting. We've had people, involved through 4-H and other agencies that wanted to do something related to disability in agriculture. Also, one of the volunteer activities we do is called the Bridging Horizons Community Service Contest. It was originally targeting FFA chapters, but it's open to any organization. It could be Farm Bureau, could be a church, could be extension homemakers, any kind of group, essentially is challenged to do a project in their community for somebody with a disability or for a wider group of people with disabilities in their community. For example, we've had people that built raised garden beds that were placed either in a community garden or for a nursing home. And, it can go all the way down to just repainting the stripes on accessible parking at a school or improving fairgrounds accessibility with a paved walk where there might have been gravel or something, helping with park accessibility. And one of the nice things is that we do give some prizes out for that. So like the winning project would get $500, help kind of cover some of the costs of whatever's used to, facilitate that project, materials, resources, whatever. So again, get in touch with us, agrability.org, or our email address. Let us know you're interested, and we can provide more information about how to be involved in that type of a project.
Sounds great. Well, hopefully some of our county farm bureaus will be reaching out to you. And I know a lot of them are always looking at some great things to do in their communities to help out. So that's great. Thank you so much, Paul, for taking the time today to talk about this really important topic. So we appreciate you taking the time, and hopefully we'll talk with you again soon.
Okay. Thank you again for addressing this.
Sure. Thanks.
If you enjoyed our conversation today, make sure to subscribe to The Breakdown with INFB and even rate and review us to let us know how we're doing. For more information, visit www.infb.org/podcast.